going to talk about Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers. This has been on my shelf for a very long time because it was something that impacted me greatly when I was in college as a first-generation college student. My parents are humble people. They needed parents themselves, I think, and didn't know how to navigate systems. So they're very quiet people. They don't fight back a lot with each other, sure, but not not systems. But they just kind of slipped into a quiet resentment, and bitterness around they, right? This larger they out there who's out to get them. But they didn't know how to advocate for themselves. And this book, I think, was a turning point for me, where you can either sink into kind of a victimhood mentality, or you can own your agency and start advocating for yourself and things that you need. So it's my first year of college and I was financially struggling. I was on my own with everything, really, how to fill out the form, what kind of loans. I know they have advisors and things like that, but you don't even know what kind of help to ask for sometimes, going through this the first time. So I was just really having a hard time financially. I would, cry alone in the shower when there's nobody around, and, trying to make my next tuition payment. I'm trying to figure out how to get help, what kind of aid there is. I was really struggling. And I remember having this feeling as I was walking around campus of nobody cares about me. I'm just a number in a big system, and nobody cares about my struggle and what I'm going through. And it was Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, that talks about these factors of success that people don't necessarily think about. Kind of like if you happen to come up at the start of a computer boom and that's what you're into and you ride that wave. Or, one of his chapters, he talks about entitlement. And, kids who are raised in families that, let's say on the way to the doctor's appointment, they ask them, all right, what questions do you have for the doctor? And they teach them to expect a certain level of service and to advocate and to speak up for what they need, what they want, and those kinds of things. So if you don't come up in a family like that, you might just quietly resent without actually verbalizing, going after, expecting to be treated, to receive certain things. So that struck me, and it landed in a place where I was like, well, no, they have thousands of students here and they don't know what's going on in my world. I have to be the one to speak up about it. So that caused a shift for me in my mentality. Another one that I thought was super interesting, another chapter in there, was about, how do I describe this? Like your birth month. So he talks about a situation where him and his wife were at like a hockey game, and they're looking at the pamphlet, and I don't know if it was him or his wife says, it's been years since I read it, but he's like, do you know when these kids were born? And he's like, yeah, whatever year for whatever league it was. And she's like, no, what month? And so many of the students in this, or kids in this advanced league, or teens, I don't know at that point what age they were all born earlier in the year. They cut off date for tryouts for these things, and people who were born early in the year were more physically developed by that time. So they get into leagues that then advance their skills further, and that advantage kind of snowballs over time. So it's something that people don't necessarily look at, but it made me curious about horoscopes and how so many people relate to them. I tend to be much more science and database. So I wonder if there is science to it in terms of when during the year you're born and how everyone around you is behaving, interacting with the world, and how that influences your personality. So I just thought that was really fascinating.